Hello, my name's David Bryan, and this is Curiosity Invited, a podcast inspired by endless curiosity. Tune in for an open-minded conversation about interesting and important things. Welcome, everybody. Curiosity Invited. My name's David Bryan, and today I have what I think is the great pleasure of speaking with Mauricio Fraga-Rosenfeld. Is that right? I got it right?
Right.
Perfect. And this, depending upon what circles you are in, this is a name that is probably familiar or unfamiliar, depending upon what circles. But if you are in the Washington, D.C. area, and go out for a meal, you'll know his name, among other things. And I'm sure, Mauricio and I have met only once on Zoom, and which doesn't really count. But now that we're living in this post-COVID world, at least for now, that's what we got. But so Mauricio and I met only once, and he's a fascinating fellow, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And in some ways, I don't know where it's going to go, and luckily, neither do you. And so we'll have some fun. But among other things, you are a very successful restaurateur. So you design restaurants, you run restaurants, you open restaurants, but there's all sorts of other things as well. So if you had to give a little bio of who you were, what would you say?
I'm an immigrant who arrived to this country with nothing, with $600 in my pocket. Didn't speak one word of English.
At the age of 19?
19, yes, 19. And like every immigrant, the majority immigrants, we came here to improve our lives. Actually, we come here to escape our lives. Some people come to improve, some people come to escape their lives. And I began as a laborer, making $3 an hour. And today here we are having a great conversation. So I'm the typical story of an immigrant.
Yes, I think that's right. And I hope we can have more of that conversation, because in our first chat, I was quite moved by and pleased that you brought it up, that the assumptions about, especially now, I think, especially since when Trump, and I mean, he the way he even announced his presidency, it has brought the question of, it has made immigration an issue, even though in so many ways, we're all immigrants or relatives of family of immigrants. And in so many ways, people who come from elsewhere have contributed greatly to this country in all sorts of ways, culturally, economically, etc. But so you're an immigrant. You came, and you are the restaurant business, right? You went into the restaurant business. Why? Like, was it passion?
Pure necessity.
Pure necessity.
So I started at a community college in Gainesville, Florida. Really, I started as a laborer, making $3 an hour, working with people who were allowed to work during the day and have to go back to jail at night. I was the only one who didn't have to go back to jail at night.
So
I remember arriving, and I stayed with my brother because he was going to school in Gainesville. I stayed with him for 1 or 2 nights on a weekend. And I remember people saying it's so hard to get a job. This was during 1987. Yeah, 1987, which it was very hard to get a job at that time.
Yeah.
And I went outside, and there was a truck driving by, and I said, "Hey, do you have a job?" "Yeah, but of course." I'm like, wow, what a great country. You can get a job just by raising your hand.
You just wave somebody down.
It was a truck with some people that said, "Hey, do you have a job?" "Yeah, I have a job." Well, I didn't know I was going to be digging the ground, putting TV cable on the ground, and being harassed by everybody. Remember, my family And
You came from Ecuador, yeah? You came from Ecuador, yeah.
My father in Ecuador was a middle class. So I grew up a little preppy. So when I arrived to work, I have at that time a little Lacoste shirts, the alligator shirts. I'm
Sure.
talking about 36 years ago. Nobody have seen those shirts.
Yeah.
I have at that time, I remember my Reebok shoes. There was a brand of the 80s.
Yeah.
I go to work with all this wearing the outfit.
To dig ditches, right?
Because I didn't have any other clothing. That was my clothing.
Yeah.
So, and I was kind of pretty good looking kid. And I remember this guy saying, "Hey, pretty boy, go back to your home. What are you doing here, pretty boy? What are you doing?" And they kept harassing and harassing and harassing. They were right. Like I was getting into something to a place where I didn't really belong. Like, what's this guy doing here? To make the story short, I have an encounter with one of the big guys, an encounter with a shorter guy, and at the end, I gained my respect. And a few weeks later, all were working for me. The complete crew was working for me. And when we started the relationship, I don't know if this show is PG-13 or PG-17, what we're doing here, but what we're working with them.
It's absolutely, it's anything, you can say anything you want, you can do anything you want.
So we became friends. Actually, very good friends we became. And we would smoke a joint for lunch together. We smoke some cannabis.
Yeah.
Then we have to go to work, back to work. But they were used to it. They were used to work high.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to it. Yeah, I have to smoke marijuana, but normally I smoke marijuana to have a good time, not to go to work. And I remember digging, plotting the ground. And one of the guys comes from behind me and said, "You got to keep moving." Because I was stuck in it. You got to keep moving. And then afterwards, I became a baker at a Mr. Donut. And that was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I was making $3.50 an hour. But that gave me the opportunity to go to community college during the day. So I was going to community college from 11 to 4, taking English and advanced math, because I didn't know that, but I was good in math. I was kicked out of every school when I was a kid.
Why? Were you just a screw up?
I didn't
do stuff? Yeah.
But to the point that my parents thought, and for sure they're right, I think that word is not correct. I don't think the word you can use anymore. Mentally impaired. I was going to say retarded, but it's not like that. Mentally impaired.
Impaired, yeah.
So they thought I have some issues, which I have some issues. To make the story short, in college at American University, they said, you have dyslexia, you have this, you have HD, whatever. Every letter you can give me in the alphabet, and that's what you have. So you want to have some extra time for exams, you're welcome, and this and that. But when I was a kid,
yeah, see,
people didn't know about this.
Yeah.
So I used to go to school and sit down and listen to the teachers, and I really didn't understand anything. So I was having some problems. So when I went to community college, which I didn't speak any word of English, I saw that I was good in math when I applied myself. So I was able to take some advanced math classes and the basic English just to go through. After that, I was able to get a partial scholarship at American University in Washington, D.C. Why I applied to American University? Because I knew that was a place that was going to network. I said, I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to go to American University to network, to build my group of friends. So I arrived to American University. Before arriving to American University, because I have to pay my other half of the tuition.
Yeah.
I went to sell encyclopedias door to door in Michigan. Remember, I couldn't speak English. I've been in the United States for a year and a half. So I did speak some English. Like now I have a lot of issues. Yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine and said, what do you say you couldn't speak? You can speak English. I can't understand you. My friend of mine told me that yesterday, making fun of me. It's like, you've been here for 36 years, but you gotta go work on your English. But anyway, so I went to sell encyclopedias door to door in Michigan. And I was on campus, and I saw a little sign. It said, "You
In
can make."
Michigan? Did you say Michigan?
Yes, Michigan. So I saw a little sign. I was finishing. I already knew I had to go to American University. I didn't have money for a transition. So I saw a paper saying you can make $1,200 a week in a summer program. Boom! I registered for it. People had been practicing for this for weeks, getting ready to go and sell encyclopedias, because you have to learn a speech, you have to learn the sales techniques, you have to learn about the product. They were leaving in 2-3 days. And the manager looked at me and said, "You don't know anything. But I can see your eyes, the hungriness you have.
Mm.
Come with us." So we went to Nashville. We took a little seminar for 5 days, 6 days, and then they sent us to different parts of the country.
No kidding.
And I went to Michigan. Remember, at that time, there were no cell phones. There was nothing at the time.
Yeah.
So I was there by myself in Michigan, knocking doors, selling encyclopedias. I had to pay my way through because we became partners. That's why it is. It's a commission base. And I remember first week, I have already sold everything that I had in Gainesville, Florida. I already said bye-bye to my life in Gainesville. So I was moving to Washington, D.C. And I was sitting in Michigan. I was sitting on the sidewalk crying. And like, what am I doing here? What am I doing in Michigan? Selling encyclopedias door to door. Every door was shut in my face.
Oh, I was going to say, and that's a thankless job. I know. Oh, silly. Cold call, knocking on somebody's door. They're not expecting you. The last thing in the world is that they want to do. Oh, amazing.
I remember I was the only person in that part of the state with an accent.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, I barely could speak English, and I had a strong accent. Knocking the door. Every door was shut down on me. And I was sitting and crying on the sidewalk. So what am I going to do? I started making fun of myself.
What do you mean?
Like, I will make fun of my accent. I will so when I knock the door, say, "Hey, how you doing? Pa, 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 pa." And they would look at me like, "What?
What?
What is he saying? What's happening with here?" Well, you can, I have an accent because I'm not from here. Say, "I know you're not from here. Where are you from?" Now I open the book. Room. The encyclopedia. "I'm from Ecuador." Pa, 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 pa. I start getting the momentum. At that time, for a region, I was among the top sales.
Really?
So I would learn just to make fun of myself. I would find a measuring tape. I found a measuring tape on the street. So I would knock the door, and they opened the door. I was measuring the wall, the doorknob. Shh, shh, shh. And I look at me and said, like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Do you have a piano?" I said, "No, and I don't want one. I don't care about it." I said, "Great.
Good, because I'm not selling piano. Lucky for you, I'm only selling encyclopedias.
I will sit. I will. So that's how I pay my way. That's how I managed to get back to American University with some cash in my pocket. I walked into American University and I said, "Look, I have a scholarship." Remember, I had this dyslexia. I cannot understand anything. I can't even, like, for me, it's an effort today to read, and I read a lot. But it's really, I have to make an effort to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I read now, like, I enjoy The Economist. For me, it's a great magazine. When I arrived here a few years ago, I couldn't understand The Economist. The English was too advanced for me. So I read it every day. I enjoy their 5-minute articles, so I lose concentration, 5-10 minute articles. But it's taking me 55 years to get to this stage.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine this 36 years ago. I couldn't go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so, and is your explanation for that? You're just tenacious. You just what determined you were going to do this? You're
That's
going to be able to read The Economist. You're gonna overcome. You never really overcome that dyslexia, right? I mean, it's still there. You still deal with it, but it's not gonna stop you from getting through this article.
you learn to deal with it,
Yeah.
and you learn to manage. The idea is to learn to manage your weaknesses.
And did
Like
you said,
as a sample, when I was knocking door to door,
yeah,
accent was my weakness.
yeah.
It became my strength. I flip it completely.
But you said that like the teachers would ask, you can get this accommodation or that accommodation. Did you take those, or were you determined to like, I'm going to get through this without that?
True story, I was lost. I lived all my life until that time, until a few years ago. I'm always lost. I live in a cloud. So
Maybe
I'm very
explain.
focused on what I want to do. What I have is determination.
Yes, that's
It's
what.
one of my strengths. When I decide to do something, I accomplish it. Like
Hmm.
this is what's going to happen. There's
Hmm.
nothing is going to stop me.
Hmm.
So I arrived to American University. It was the same feeling in the high school. Until now, I have nightmares about school exams. Like once in a while, I wake up because I have a nightmare about an exam because I was there and I didn't study. But I arrived to American University and I really didn't know what I was supposed to do. I knew I have a scholarship because I have good grades at the community college. I really didn't know where was I going, what was going to happen.
What
So,
were you there for, really? Yeah, yeah,
except supposedly I was there to graduate.
sure, right.
Really, my main goal was to network. I went to American University to network, to meet people. So I got
You picked there because it's Washington, because it's the capital. Why'd you pick there? You could have picked
so I was gonna
Miami.
no because I didn't want to go to Miami. Miami is a
No, I get it, but
different world. But I was gonna do UPenn because I already had the grades because I have able to get good grades and my resume was kind of good. I have been honor student at this community college. I founded environmental club 36 years ago in Gainesville, Florida. They created an award in my name at that time. Every semester, the hardest work in the club. And why I created that is because I was getting a bad grade in the study of the earth. I don't even know, one of those classes.
yeah,
And the professor was giving me a B. I said, look, I need the A. I said, okay, so do something different. I said, why don't you recycle styrofoam? Why don't you create something? And when I went and look at it, I create a club, Students for Environmental Harmony. Students for Environmental Harmony. And that club became very big. And we did a lot. I'm talking about 6 years ago when nobody was talking about that.
right.
So when I went and applied for colleges, my resume was very interesting. And so I was UPenn, University of Austin, Texas, and American University. I wanted to study international business. And Austin, Texas accepted me with scholarship, American University. And UPenn, I didn't apply. I thought this was going to be too difficult for me. If I had too much learning disabilities, I said, what am I going to do there? I need to go to a school which I understand is a little easier to deal with. And
Yeah,
American University was a school for me. I thought by conversation at the American University, a lot of the families of very successful people the kids of very successful families were there. And they're the kids that couldn't go to Georgetown or GW.
right,
The
right,
same, the same network, but a little more
right.
junior. And I began my business as a sophomore at American. And it was a discount card for college students, a credit card for college students. And I have
Wait,
gone
you started this?
Yeah, that company belonged to me. It was called PhD Express, like American Express, but it was the PhD Express. And what it was, remember, at that time, there was no cell phones. There was no internet.
Yeah,
Long before cell phones and internet.
absolutely.
What I used to do is sell this car for $25 a year. And with that car, you have a lot of benefits. You can finance at that time NCR, National Car Cash Register. You can finance a typewriter. It looked like a computer, you know, the electric typewriters. They were not
Yeah,
computers yet, but they're closest thing to computers.
yeah.
You can do all your work, and there was the memory that you can keep whatever you wrote, where you typed was there. So I have approached NCR to let me sell these registers, these typewriters and campuses. And I have approached 250, 400 businesses in the city. Personally, I went personally door to door and signed an agreement with them where they will give a discount, what benefit to everybody that had a car with me. This is 34 years ago. You see this everywhere now. I'm talking about 34 years ago. And I will give commission to the people who sold the car for me in every campus, $15 commission. Because
Every card they sell.
I give them $15 because I didn't care about the $25. I care about having them under my like building an army of people.
Yes.
I can send them whatever I want. And started doing well. I have zero knowledge about management. Exactly what happened in colleges. In college, I have zero knowledge about management. I expanded too quickly. I grew too fast. It was a one-man operation. And
But you were the person going to get the relationships with the businesses.
the businesses and going to campuses and finding who's going to sell the car for me.
Who's going to sell them?
And the way I used to do, I used to take the metro to, let's say, to George Mason University. And I would sit at the student unions. I remember at that time I was 21, so I was young. I would fit perfectly there now. And I would watch who was the leader in the group, and like who really has
Right.
controla la manada. The manada, word in English, controls the pact. Who controls the pact? So I would go to them and say, "Look, I'm doing this project. Do you want to work with me? Make some commission." Perfect. So I have representatives in every campus, like 2 or 3 in every campus. So anyway, at the end, really everything just crashed. I went too fast and I didn't have any management. And one day I took all the applications and just threw it through the garbage chute. And
That was it. That was the end of that business.
That was the end of that business. But I have an eviction notice in my apartment. I have incompletes in college.
Oh, because you weren't going to classes. You were really there to run a business, to start a business. Yeah, get it.
So the first year I passed, but yeah, on my junior year, my second semester, it just everything went down.
You crashed and burned.
So I got evicted. I have eviction notice. Didn't have anything to eat. Had to go out and find places to sleep. And the way I used to eat, I used to go and a friend of mine, my suite mate in college, because first I was living on campus. A gentleman from Burma had one of those cards where you can go to the cafeteria and eat as much as you want. At that time, there were no computers, so you can do whatever you want. So I'll wait for him outside. He will give
you the card.
And I would go back and have my lunch. So there were days that I wouldn't eat. And then is when I saw how, I'm jumping farther into the conversation now, how people become homeless and how people lose their pride to exist. And it's so easy. So, something I tell my kids is the most important thing that you have, and nobody can take it away from you, is your pride. And not say pride as an arrogance, as a self-esteem, as it's feeling good, as I care about myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that you lose it, or somebody takes it away from you, that's it. It's like the Palestinians. They don't have anything else to do than to go and fight and die, because they took everything away from them. So they don't have anything else to lose. You take this pride away. That's it. You don't know what's going to happen. I tell people, I just have a company meeting a couple of days ago, and I was saying, you got to be careful how you deal with your employees, because the moment you put a knife in somebody's neck, there's two things going to happen. They're going to let you stab. They allow you to stab them, or they're going to grab it and going to stab you. So pride is something that you really is pride is really the most important thing that somebody owns, somebody has.
And when you say pride, you're really meaning self-esteem, yeah?
Self-esteem, yeah. Not arrogance.
Right.
Feeling good, how you care about yourself.
Right.
So what happened when you're on the street, if you don't come quickly out of the street, slowly you keep losing your pride.
Mm-hmm.
And gets to a point that you really don't care about it anymore. You're like, well, that's it, I'm done. I don't try anymore. So our job really with the people on the street is try to get them just before they lose their pride, before they cross the line. The moment they cross it and they go down,
it's hard to get that back.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. And that's why when I see these, I'm going to the tangent, no? My conversation is going somewhere else. That's why when I see these ex-addicts, and when they look at you, they would look at you like they don't have any self-esteem.
Mm.
Because the people teaching them or bringing them out of the hole are not really teaching them to be proud of yourself. You managed to come out of the hole. You gotta feel good about it.
Mm.
Whatever happened, happened. But they're not getting that concept. So you see these people, ex-addicts on the street, when you talk to them, you always see them there like with a side down, like because nobody really bringing
like,
the
almost like they're apologizing for their life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly the right description.
Yeah.
So we were going back to America. So I didn't have a place to sleep. I couldn't really eat. And then it's when the lack of minerals, vitamins in your body is what crazy thoughts come to your mind. Because you're so mentally weak.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about committing suicide. Because
how old are you now? Not now, but how old were you when you this time you're talking about?
21, 22.
So you're still 20.
22.
Yeah. You're 20s, yeah.
So, and I remember not doing it because of my grandmother. Because I say, if I kill myself, I will kill my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
My grandmother was my mother. Like many of us grew up with the grandparents. And I stopped. But what I did is I never show my poverty. I never show my necessity.
Were you still in touch with your family?
But my pride won't allow me to call my father to say, send me money.
Yeah.
My self-esteem. Yeah. When I left, my father had told me, my brothers and sisters were studying somewhere else, different parts of the world. And when I told my father I'm going to the States, he looked at me, laughed, and said, good luck to you. What am I going to do? And at the airport, my father took his watch. The old people, the old generation to have these gold watches. So he took his gold watch out of his wrist out of the airport and said to me, knowing that I wasn't going to make it. I'm going to reflect that in a moment. So he took his watch out of his wrist and said, when you're ready to come back, this is your ticket back.
Yeah.
Go, do whatever you have to do. But when you're ready to come back, sell this watch and you'll be back in Ecuador. Really what he did is he pushed me, saying, you know what? I'm challenging.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me the challenge. I'm telling you, you're not going to make it. I'm telling you, not gonna make it challenging, but I'm challenging for you to make. That's what he did. So it's the best thing he did. So when I was down, my pride wouldn't allow me to call him to say, send me money.
Is your dad still alive?
No, he passed away.
Passed away.
You know,
And
my
did
mother.
you ever get a chance to express your gratitude for that challenge?
Oh, the story of the watch is so long. I'm gonna go back to the story of the watch. The story of the watch has traveled all over the world. So, but I'll go back to America when I was homeless. So a friend of mine allowed me to sleep on his carpet. I'm gonna tell you, I have once in my life I have to climb a garbage container, a trash bin, to get food.
Yeah, that's when you know you're down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine allowed me to sleep on his carpet. It was a small studio, maybe 300 square feet, less, full of roaches. Disgusting. But I have a place to sleep, so I slept on the carpet. Having this network of people on campuses, I'm like, wow, I have all these people, my salespeople, my representatives. What am I gonna do with them? I walk into, I remember it was a small restaurant, still available, nice here. It's a very nice sushi place called Paris. And I walk in, and then the owner was Said. I said, Said, I said, your place, this is one of the businesses that was honoring my discount card. So that's why I knew the owner. So I got Said, I said, you're completely empty on a Tuesday night. Why don't you let me do a party? You keep the bar, I keep the door. Great. I remember the first night I made $400. I'm like, wow, there's a business here.
It turns out there's a business there, yeah.
Something's happening. So to make the story short, I was doing 9 events a week. I had over 100 people working for me. I had the hottest nightclubs in the city. I was 23, 24. I was running there were 3 big guys in the city. I was one of the 3 big guys who ran the nightlife in Washington, D.C. And at 25, I was able to open my first nightclub. And then here we go. Then we open restaurants and different stores. But the story of the watch.
Wait, let's just complete that piece. Just one sec. So you started opening nightclubs and businesses, and where did that end up? How many nightclubs and restaurants and whatever do you have now?
Washington, D.C., we have opened 17 in my lifetime. I'm 55.
Yeah.
And in 2009, I got some problems with anemia. I went to a lot of emergency hospitals all over the world. Then while we're doing this, they found that I have a little thyroid cancer. The anemia almost died because they couldn't figure out what it was, and got to a point that I got to get out of the plane directly to the hospital because I couldn't breathe anymore. Because my body does not absorb iron, which I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then they found some cancer, whatever. Anyway, I told my wife, I think we have done enough. We're not rich, but we can live wherever we want. So 2010, I kind of retired, quote unquote, and took it like, I did some things, but really took a break for a while.
Did you sell your businesses, or you just
sold some of the business and kept some?
Yeah.
And we own a management company. And then a few years ago, I came back. So the story of the watch, that's a nice story with the watch. So after 2.5 years, I'm proud of myself because I paid my way through. I'm already in college. I feel good about myself. Go back to my country. And I go with a watch. And at that time, my grandfather, all the people that work with him have stolen his gold watch. So my grandfather was upset about it. So I text abuelito, I don't need this anymore. And I put it in his face. I said, you keep this watch.
Mhm.
That watch, my grandfather passed away. My father passed away. And one day I was cleaning the property, and I found the watch in his desk.
Oh, well.
My son was moving to Spain to begin a new life.
Your son.
My son. And before he left, I have something for you. Take this watch with you. So that watch had
When was that?
That was about 3 years ago.
3 years ago. And is he still in Spain?
No, now he's in South America, but he wears the watch.
With the watch. That's great.
He's so proud of it.
That's great.
He loves showing off his watch.
That's a great story.
That's a story that people have written about. It's a good story. The watch, something like that, they call it. Okay, I lost the momentum. So what are we going to talk about?
Well,
but this is what I was going to say the most important thing in my life.
Yeah.
It's my wife. So I met my wife.
It's a smart man.
At 23, almost 24, 23 and a half. Still with eviction notices, just coming out of the hole. I was just in the
on the way up from the roaches on the carpet.
So I met this woman because I want to be in the rice and sugar business. My father was in the rice and sugar business, so I thought I could do that business. And my wife was in transportation. And one day we met. She looked at me like I'm an idiot. This little kid, 23 years old, completely broke, with these big ideas. And she kept asking questions, and she kept asking questions. She kept asking questions. I'm like, you ask too many questions. You ask too many questions. And she gets mad. She gets mad at me. And she insults me. She destroys me. She does whatever. No problem. Lunch is finished. We finished the meeting. I was with a young friend next to me, a lawyer. He was graduating from law school at American. And I said, Tom, call her and ask her what she thinks about me. Remember, she is 6 years older than me. Very successful in her career.
And this is happening in the States, in Washington. Yeah.
I'm completely broke. And he calls her, and she said, he's an idiot. This, and this, and this, and this. But don't you think he's cute? That's not going to take him anywhere. If he thinks with his looks he's going to go somewhere, it's not going to happen to him. He calls me back. So you know what? She thinks you're an idiot, but she does think you're cute. I said, thank you. Boom.
That's enough.
That's all I do. You know what it is? You can see when somebody's attracted to you, you can see so quick. You can see in the eyes so quickly. No, you can. It's so easy to see it. And this woman walks in with a little ponytail, tight scare, cat-eye glasses. You know, she walks in, Middle Eastern, she's Palestinian, Jordanian. So those cheekbones, you know, very defined cheekbones, gorgeous, eagle eyes, hazel eagle eyes. Imagine that. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow. And she sits, she gives me a speech, she insults me. I'm like, wow.
You're in love.
So at that time there were fax machines, no cell phones yet, and I sent her a fax inviting her to one of my events. She calls me back. Thank you for the invitation, this and that and that. I thought I told her, ask her, I said, you gonna come? I said, no. I said, try to do it. It's gonna be a good event. Okay, I'm gonna stop by with my friends. I said, thank you very much. But just remember one thing. She says, what? You called me first. I didn't call you. that was 33, almost 33 years ago.
You still play? Are you still playful with each other?
Oh man, we get along so well.
That's
We
great.
get along so well. She lives overseas. She's this woman. Remember, she's my CEO. She's my boss. Extremely intelligent woman. She really is the one who controls me. No, she is like have the have have the rope very tight.
Right.
It wants me to run a little bit. She allows me to run. Otherwise, she grabs the rope. When we landed, that was this Christmas, a few months ago. We landed in Ecuador. We spent a lot of time in Ecuador. We live part of the time in Ecuador, most of the time. And she landed. We a little carry on like this.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm not going back. And she didn't come back. Now she lives in Ecuador.
So she lives in Ecuador, so you guys are back. You're back and forth.
I'm back and forth.
Yeah.
Every time I go back, I bring another carry on. So I keep bringing her closet.
That's great.
But that's how our life is. That's
Yeah.
what we're in Washington, D.C. When we moved to Ecuador, go ahead.
And are you still excited by Washington, D.C.? Does it still feel like what feels like home? Are you home in the United States? Are you home in Ecuador? Are you home in both places?
I'm home in Washington, D.C.
You are. It's become,
I love this city.
yeah.
What a great city.
What do you like about it?
The community. Everywhere you sit down, there's a language, accent, races, different religions. I was sitting with a dear friend of mine, Daniel Kaufman. He is a giant in this world. And everybody in Washington D.C. is a giant in something. Everybody in Washington, D.C. has a reason to be here. So when you walk into the restaurants, when you're talking to people, everybody is doing something big in the city. DC is not a city you just come to waste time. You come to DC to make something big, to make a change. That's why you're here. That's what Washington DC is, like you were saying from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was invited to this dinner, and we were 6 people. We're 3 couples. And those couple, and that table, there were 13 passports. We were 6 people. There were 13 passports. There were all 4 major religions. And there were 17 languages. 6 people. That's what Washington, D.C. is.
Yeah, I get it.
I love
That's exciting.
Washington, D.C.
It's
Go
exciting.
back. I remember the first time I went back to Ecuador. I love Ecuador, no? It's a beautiful country. I love the people. I'm not saying anything bad about it. But I remember the first time I went back to Ecuador. I was maybe 21 after coming here. And I sat down at the same bar where I was a few years before, on the same bar stool, and the conversation was exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Yeah.
2 years later. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
This is not for me. Explain to everybody where I'm coming from. I'm like, this is not. I'm out of here. That's what Washington, D.C. is home for me. I live in a tiny little apartment, 700 square feet. I own a restaurant underneath.
Underneath the apartment. You're downstairs. Yeah.
So I go down to my restaurant.
You get to eat.
I have the restaurant. This one, Secreto Rosita, we're on the Michelin guide. It's a Michelin restaurant. And so I have an executive chef. Can't complain about life, really.
No.
There's no reason. I have an executive chef that every day, a Michelin executive chef, imagine that.
Yes.
Every day, he prepares a different meal for me.
Oh, wow.
Sit down like, okay, what are we in the mood for? What should we have today? It's like,
that's great.
Imagine that. This is really luxury.
That's great. Yeah.
I go at night, I come back at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Before I come to the apartment, I stop by, have a glass of cava, champagne, boom, come to sleep.
That's perfect. That's good.
I understand why Washington D.C. is my home.
And what do you do during the day? Are you fully back in the business, the nightclub, restaurant business?
So we're in the cannabis business now. We opened Yerba Buena, and really what it is a community space. I'm a user of cannabis. It has helped me a lot in my life to focus. I microdose every day.
Mhm.
In the morning, I get a little hyper, and the night I slow down a little bit. Per microdose. On 2019, it was January 6, 2019. We were skiing in Spain with my family. And that's kind of my sport, skiing with one of our daughters. And we were going down that double diamond, going down fast the hills. And my daughter touched my skis, and with a snowboard, we just collide. We just touch it. But I flew, and I got a good accident, and I had a concussion. I woke up at the clinic, and I said, "Well, how you feel?" I said, "Good." I said, "There's nothing else we can do about it now. For sure, something's gonna happen. You're gonna get some effects later, but you can go now." I arrived back to the United States and got to a point I couldn't. My memory was destroyed. My speech, worse than what I have today, got destroyed, and I couldn't deal with light anymore. At 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, I have to hide in the darkness because of the pain in the head.
Mm-hmm.
And really what helped me to come, one of the things that helped me to come out of that issue was cannabis. I became microdosing, so I had the energy to get up in the morning. And at 6 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, I will get another dose of cannabis, but just to kind of relax me. And I'll be able to deal with the issue with the darkness and the pain. So I'm a big supporter, and that's the reason why I'm pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
This space really is a community space, and like we're doing shows there, like vintage clothing shows, artist shows, and now we're already finished. It's a podcast studio where the community can come and record their lives.
And record in the podcast. Use the podcast studio.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a space.
And you say that you have 3 of them, of these clubs, yeah? Or you?
No, this is one. This is the only one. This is an experiment.
Yeah.
Learning about it. But we're getting ready to build a new lounge, Chicha Lounge on 13 and New. We're getting ready to build another sushi place. We're opening a small restaurant called Don Segundo with a degustation menu, 7-10 dishes called Don Segundo. We are developing a hotel in South America, 2 restaurants. So we're not. There's a lot. I'm working on a lot of projects, good amount of projects.
I get it. Now here's my question about that. At this point in your life, like, you're not necessarily trying to prove something. When you're young, you're both trying to survive and trying to prove something. What is it that pushes you forward now? It's not about the money anymore. You've got enough. Well, maybe you don't, but who knows? But so to
I'm
what end?
comfortable. I'm not rich. That's why I have a comfortable life. I'm not rich. The first is, what else I'm gonna do? What else can I do? This is what I know how to do. I know how to build. What am I gonna sleep all day?
Well, I mean,
What else can I do?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but you've done so many different things. You've decided to do them, right? You've done so many different things. So I guess I'm asking: is there
the money is not a motivation?
Are you aiming for something other than you're just, it's when you say what else am I going to do? It's almost like, it sounds like it's habit, but you don't strike me as a person who's driven by habit as much as like you see something and you're going for it. So I'm curious about whether you have an insight into what that is.
The moment we start building is when we die. That's why I see it. It's like retire.
Yeah.
The beginning of the end. The moment you retire is the beginning of the end. A friend of mine who was 34 years old, who's 34 years older than me, he told me, I said, when are you going to retire? So, when are you going to retire? At the moment they take me out of my house with my feet on the front. So he's dead.
With yeah.
That's the day I'm going to retire. And the same thing is like, there's no reason. But we don't have the urgency anymore.
Right.
Before we have the urgency. No, it's
Right.
building. Let's do it right. I just I work on a project for almost a year. They agree at the wharf, at the Washington Wharf here in DC. It's very hard to get in there. Only who of the operators can get in there, like big operators, non-operators. And they gave me a property there. And I got the architects, got the lawyers, got the financing. And then Christmas, I went to Ecuador. And that's the answer to what you were just saying. And asked my wife, I said, why do I want to get into that big project? Like, that's something too big for me now. Like, I don't have the animal that I had before. That's the difference. What would I get into this animal now? Might work well, might not work, and then we're going to have issues, might affect our relationship. So I came back January 9th. I called the broker. I said, no, John, sorry, I'm going to walk away from it.
Yeah.
But the projects I'm working in, and small projects, one for the financing, we can manage them very easy. The hotel in Ecuador, we own the property. We will own the hotel. It's our own property, our own hotel. So yes, I will build that because really is what we're living for our kids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's really what's happened. That's for our kids to move.
And what do your kids do? What do your kids? How old are they now?
24, 23, and 21.
And what do they want to do? Or
one
are they doing
a photographer in Brooklyn, a yoga instructor. She goes to Pratt Institute.
Yeah.
She's a print something major. The second one is in Le Roche Hospitality School, Le Roche, the Swiss school. He's studying hotel management. That's what he was studying in Marbella. The last year, he's going to do it online in Ecuador. And he's really the one who's very involved in our business.
Yes, I bet.
He is so good. Yesterday we were talking, I was making some decisions, and I talked to him maybe 12 times yesterday. We talked all day because he has a good insight. Where it is. So we arrive, like every immigrant, we arrive from the bottom. We're on the bottom. And we work very hard, and we managed to go all the way up to here. This is my top. I might produce a little more, but I know where my capacity is. Like, I'm here now. My life is not going to change with any new project that I built.
Mm-hmm.
My life is not going to go to a completely different level. I'm going to stay the way I am. Maybe a couple more properties, 2 more restaurants, nothing big. On the other hand, our kids are beginning from here.
I was about to say, they start from here and now they're going up. Yeah.
That's what takes, real wealth takes few generations, really 2 generations. The first one is the one who break the ground, and the second one that starts from there.
Yeah.
But the second one is the one who saw the struggles of the first one. So the second one does appreciate. They understand where they are, and they need to build. The third one is the problem. The third one never gonna feel necessity. So they feel like they're entitled.
Yeah. Well, that's something to avoid.
Exactly. We got to be sure that connection. We got to be sure that we break that connection.
Yeah.
The third one also feels necessity.
Yeah. Feels something, right? Feels like, why am I doing this with a purpose? Like, I have to do this. Yeah.
So I see our kids and they're great in what they do. My youngest also, Pratt, she does animation. So each one has their own talents. But business-wise, my second is the one who's really gonna be fully involved with the company. Okay,
So
what else should we talk about it?
I want to just circle back. I want to be respectful of your time, but I want to circle back to that.
I
When we
open my
first,
schedule till 12:30 for you, so I can do whatever you like to do.
well, it's almost 11:30 here
Yeah, you're
for
right.
your time, right? Yeah. So time goes fast when you're having fun.
I enjoy these conversations. I
Me
don't
too.
like to hear the speeches.
Say what?
When I'm invited to a speech,
Yeah.
I don't know where to start or how to finish it.
Yeah.
When you go into a dialogue, when you invite me to a dialogue, I enjoy it very much. To a debate, debate is good.
Yeah. Well, okay. So when we first spoke, I was pretty moved by, you made a point of talking about listening to Trump when he, came down the elevator and he was announced that he was going to be running for president back in whatever it was, 2015, 2016, and talked about, the immigrants, and they're sending their rapists and they're sending murderers, and and do you have feelings about, thoughts about the current conversations about immigrants?
So I have lost good amount of acquaintances because they decide to support Trump. That's how much I dislike that person. And I can't even call him a gentleman because a person.
What is it about? Was it specifically that, or generally Trump?
It feels like if you really can follow him and believe he's crap, it's hard to be friends. Like if you're really connecting with Trump, you and I were so far apart from each other.
Have you been able to have those conversations with the people that you've
Now
away from, or no?
Now that Trump quote unquote left, I was able to reestablish some relationships. And now when we talk, we are conscious that we're not going to talk politics anymore. And when somebody brings a subject up, I'm like, guys, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I remember we were driving by Napa Valley with my kids. We were in a rental car going to wine country.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to NPR. We were listening to NPR. And I could hear Trump give the speech about the Mexican being rapists. And I stopped the car. We were on one of the little side roads, no?
Yeah.
A little road.
Yeah.
And I stopped the car. I said, you guys just hear what just happened here?
You said to your kids,
Can you pay attention what's happening here? Like it was something you couldn't imagine somebody running for president to speak like that.
Yeah.
In that moment, we became open enemies of Trump as a family. I wrote, some newspapers published my letters. Our kids were printing T-shirts, selling in front of Trump Hotel at the Washington Square. Like they were really committed. And I remember the night that Trump won. My two kids, my son was in NYU, my daughter was a Pratt. Both were in college.
And were your kids born in the United States? Did they think of themselves as U.S. citizens, or were they dealt with as immigrants?
They were born in Washington, D.C. A Columbia Hospital doesn't exist anymore. And on 24 in Pennsylvania. You can ask for a better address to be born in Washington, D.C., like they're real Washingtonians. But they see as a, what is the phrase, the term that they use? Something third kids, third party kids, something like that, because they come from a Latino father, a Middle Eastern mother, grew up in Washington, D.C., lived in Ecuador for a few years, lived in Spain for a while. We move a lot.
Yeah.
They really, they have friends all over the world. Washington, D.C., one of the reasons why we didn't sell the property, the one that we, like the big house, because we want them to have a connection with Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We want them to feel like D.C. is home for them. If we, Nestor and I, we leave Washington, D.C., they're not going to have really any anchor.
Yeah.
They need to feel belonging to somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I understand.
That's what Washington D.C.
Yeah.
is.
So now, so wait, so what? Yeah, how did you help them make sense of that, of those 4 years and more? Who knows what's next?
So, well, I really don't have a comment in a second.
Yeah.
You lost me. I gotta go back to the conversation. I think the cannabis is hitting on.
It's just that, I was moved. You didn't actually say as much when we spoke the first time about your feelings about Trump, but you did tell me about, you remember when he announced for president, and I was moved that it meant that much,
There's certain
brought it up to a stranger, not knowing one way or another how I felt.
there are certain dates in your life, certain episodios. How do you say?
Episodes, yeah.
After.
Certain events, certain episodes, yeah.
You remember where were you during 9/11?
Totally.
All remember where 9/11.
Yeah.
So the same, Trump was something like that for me.
Yeah.
I remember when Trump won, and I had to tell my daughter, my youngest, she was at home, that Trump had won. It was so hard for me to tell her.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember she got up and she was crying. At that time she was 16, I think, 15. And she told me that on campus, they went to Georgetown Day School. Georgetown Day School is a very liberal school in Washington, D.C.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the first school in Washington, D.C. that allowed desegregation in the 40s. It was founded by a Jewish community. It's big with the African community, African American community. It's a great school. They celebrate Gay Pride Day.
Yeah. Is it a public school? Is it a public school? It's a private school. Yeah.
Remember my daughter telling me that the sadness that people had on campus that day.
Yeah.
People feel like you lost somebody. And you know that the country was going to get destroyed. It's everything that's happening now, we knew what's going to happen. The division among people, the hate, people can insult you in the street and tell you how they feel about you.
Did you feel the consequences? I mean, you speak with an accent, so that already puts you in this category of you're not from here. But did you experience any of the challenges of being from someplace else during those 4 years or since?
Not really, because I'm already in a different situation now. And we're very outspoken, and I'm sorry I say, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna let that happen.
Yeah.
But I can see people that work for me. I have seen people on the street. I have gotten so many arguments with people because they assume I don't know.
Yeah.
It's sad.
I hope it is. It is. It's super sad. I hope I hope we don't all go through that again.
And this campaign is going to be so tough. It's going to be worse than before. Now you have all these people
Oh yeah.
And they're not afraid of.
No. They feel empowered.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I work with a lot of immigrants. We're talking about immigrants, and
Yeah.
really our mission as a company is to help immigrants, not just immigrants, to help people to become entrepreneurs, to empower them. So I have a business partner who's my business partner in the cannabis business, and we opened in a lounge together, a restaurant together. And he used to be my dishwasher at 19. And then he's a guy from Ethiopia, dreadlocks, full of tattoos. At that time, he carried a gun in his car. And when I walk into the restaurant, and he was washing dishes, and I go to him and say, "Weedy." "Yes, Baba." And say, "I like you very much." "Thank you, Baba." "They want to succeed." "Yes, Baba." "Okay, so stick to me. Listen to me. I like you very much. You're a good guy. But if you stick to me, you're going to do well." "Okay, Baba." That was it. He kept washing dishes, no? He was 19 at that time. And so at first, I said, "I don't want to see your underwear anymore." No, I had the pants to the knees. "I don't want to see your underwear anymore." So I pulled up his pants. I tied his belt. I said, "I don't want to see your underwear." "Okay, Baba." I kept washing dishes. I come a week later or so, and I park the car in the back. I go through the kitchen. I said, "Weedy." "Yes, Baba." I said, "You know the car that I drive, right?" "Yes, Baba." "You know I own the property." I said, "I'm in a position that I don't need to show my wealth anymore. People know who I am. That's why I don't wear any jewelry. I don't wear any watches. I don't wear anything. So I would like you to do the same thing." And I take a Ziploc bag. We're ready wearing earrings, chains, gold, and everything fake for sure. But he was wearing so many things. I said, "Just put it here, and I don't want to see ever again your wealth." And I sit back. Slowly start growing with me, growing with me. Remember, this is a kid from the street.
Yeah.
Man, had to have a gun in his car. Imagine where he's going to sleep every night when he goes back to his neighborhood. As somebody who was in jail for a few months. So culture, nothing to do with money. But it's how you were raised when you were a little kid. That's what really why I enjoy. That's why I do favor for kids to grow up with the grandparents, because the grandparents have a different pace. They're a different tone. So when they raise kids, they're in a hurry. They're in a hurry to make money to survive. Then they already raise other sets of kids. They already know the good and the bad things. So when the grandparents raise you, they have a completely different tone.
And I think it's also they've seen a much bigger sweep of time. And I think it makes people, or if they're lucky, it makes people a little bit less arrogant and a little more humble. They see the world change. They know, you know, what's here now is not going to be here next time. And it changes things, and it's in a good way. And I think it's one of those things that young people really, it's a good lesson for young people.
Time makes you humble.
Yeah.
It teaches you so much.
Yes.
Then before
Exactly.
the nightclub business, to walk in pissed off, arrogant, uh, on top of everybody. Now people don't even know them there.
Mm.
For people not to know I'm there, I sit down in the corner, I have my drink, and that's it.
Yeah.
I don't go to all day.
Perfect.
It's
Perfect.
taking me 55 years to learn the lesson. But Weedy was learning, but couldn't get the concept yet. So I opened it was Christmas time, Christmas season, holiday season, and Vanity Fair had come out with a magazine, that has the triple cover. You open the holiday edition, then you open the magazine, and tuk, 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 tuk. It has about four, it's like a big page. There's a four,
yeah.
There's a cover that's folded.
Yeah.
And then this picture was every big celebrity of that at that time on a picture. Everybody wearing a tuxedo, a lot of jewelry, watches, a lot of wealth. No, it was who in the world was there in Hollywood. And I go to him and said, William, which one from here do you think would be my friend? Who do you think I would invite to my house? Who do you think I can relate with? And he couldn't get the concept. He's looking, so there's Jennifer Lopez with a lot of jewelry, Kanye West with something else. He couldn't get the concept. And there was Harrison Ford, which I like him very much, wearing a white shirt, a black suit, no tie. He was against the wall with his arm crossed like this, very relaxed, like he's out, like the way he is all the time. And I said, this is my friend. And this is how I want you to dress and behave. And you click. I saw his eyes. You know what clicks on you? I finally he understood what I was trying to teach him.
Mm-hmm.
And changed completely. Wearing a black suit, a gray suit, just a shirt, no more jewelry, no more wealth, no more these very expensive sneakers everybody's wearing. He became my general manager. Dishwasher became the general manager.
That's great.
At 24, my wife's in real estate. At 24, he was able to buy a 5-bedroom home in Washington, D.C. At 19, he was washing dishes.
That's great.
He became a partner at Yerba Buena, the cannabis place, and he's a partner now on my new project.
That's great. Fabulous.
He's a 50% partner on a new project.
That's
27
terrific.
years old.
Well, so maybe that's what you're pointing at. That your businesses are there to, give the opportunity to people that wouldn't necessarily have it.
That's exactly what it is. The person who's going to operating who's going to be operating one of our businesses. Also, he was in jail for 8 years, 10 years. People who would never get a chance, we give them a chance.
Yes.
You know why? Because I've been there.
Yeah.
I'm on the street. I've been homeless. I've been sleeping on carpets full of roaches. I've been sleeping in cars.
Yeah.
There were days I couldn't eat. So it's just, people just need a chance. What I tell people is, I'm going to give you a chance, but only one chance. It's your decision. What are you going to do with it? I'm going to give you a rope. You can run with it or you can hang yourself. And many times they hang themselves. Many times. It's so sad because it just happened a few weeks ago. And I talked to this gentleman. I said, I told you, please, don't bullshit me. Just tell me the truth. We talked for a while and I could hear the gentleman was crying on their side. And I said, look, hopefully you have a chance. You find somebody like me again. But whatever you did with me, all the mistakes, don't do it again. Yeah. So it's about people don't understand. People don't want to change. Habits, like you were saying, the habits is when you have those bad habits already, if you don't want to you want to change those habits, you're done.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm looking at the clock, and I'm looking at your time, and I'm enjoying our conversation. And I just want to say thank you, Mauricio Fraga-Rosenfeld. Wait, one thing we haven't. So, Ecuador, Fraga-Rosenfeld. You're a Jewish person. Where, is there a large Jewish community in Ecuador?
My great uncle was Monsignor Pablo Muñoz Vega. If you're Catholic, he is the head of the Catholic Church in my country. Well, my great uncle was the head of the Catholic Church in my country. I went to a Catholic school all my life. In my last years, I went to an Opus Dei school. Opus Dei is the most conservative part of the Catholic Church. So that's how I was raised in a very conservative Christian house. My family came from Ukraine, lived during the World War II, really was part of Poland. So I'm really part of Ukrainian, one for Ukrainian, to South America. So that's where the Rosenfeld comes. During the World War II, there's a book written about them. Everybody was killed, but him, my grandfather and his brother. His three sisters were killed when the war started. Her three sisters and the mother, and my great grandfather was hanged when the war was finished. My great grandfather was a successful. He owned several businesses, so the Germans used him until the end. And when the war was finished, they hanged him. Just at the end, just because there was no.
Right.
Even though my wife is Palestinian, my great uncle is one of the guys who went to Palestine, is the one who built the tanks to protect the settlers, the Israeli settlers. The Jewish settlers that were arriving in Palestine. So there's a lot of.
There's a lot of going on in that family.
There's a lot of things. So the same thing. We try not to talk too much about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. So that's the story about Rosenfeld.
All right. I have one more question for you that has nothing to do with anything, but maybe. Who do you admire in this world? Do you have a hero? Have you had heroes? I mean, it's one thing to, appreciate Harrison Ford's demeanor, but
I respect and admire a lot of people. But really, I don't have a hero. Really, the person that I admire the most is my wife. Because we have gone through so many things in our lives since we were together, business up and down, and personal issues and family issues. And she's a solid rock. She's always somebody who is there.
Makes sense.
It's incredible. Her and I, we talk, because she lives in Ecuador. I was looking at the phone the other day. We talk 12 times, 15 times a day. We talk every time. We talk in garbage. Okay, I gotta go. Boom. The phone is always on. I admire intelligent people. I admire people. There are people like a good friend of mine. His name is Andy Herskowitz, and I think he's one of the smartest person that I know. And I love Andy Herskowitz. He's also very successful in what you wouldn't know. But Google, you'll see. He's also very successful in what he does. He was he's the one who put Power Africa. Obama is the one who sent him there and created this Power Africa. He was in charge of. But he's extremely intelligent. So I admire intelligent people. People that can sit down and listen to them. Like, I enjoy sitting and listen to them. That's why it's simple, intelligent people. Those are people that I don't have a hero.
Well, Mauricio, I'm so glad that we had some time to sit and get to know each other, at least on a screen. And I'm hoping that our paths cross in 3 dimensions sometime.
It was very nice.
Very nice indeed.
Anytime you want to talk, well, you don't have to be recording.
I was going to say, I don't have to record it, right?
You're like a psychologist, my psychiatrist, actually. I should get one, so you're my psychiatrist.
No, you don't want me to do that, because then I'll charge you.
Don't worry,
right, my friend.
We do barter.
It's good to meet you at length. It's good to meet you at length.
Great talking to you.
Yeah, you too. You take care.
You take
Have
care.
a good day.
You too. Best to your family.